There's a moment, just before the world tips into darkness, when the air itself seems to hold its breath. Can you feel it? The quiet tension, the whisper of something ancient stirring beneath the surface of the familiar. Tonight, we step into one of those moments, a turning point in the history of Middle-earth, where the fate of all things hangs in the balance. And whether you're listening beneath the silver glow of a midnight moon or the first light of dawn, we'd love to know, where does this story find you? Let us know in the comments below and tell us what hour your journey into rest begins. Because this is a tale meant to be shared, a story that echoes across time and place. High above the rolling hills of Valinor, where the golden light of the trees once bathed the land in eternal warmth, a shadow lingers. Orom the Hunter stands watchful, his every sense alive to the tremors of the world below. He is one of the Valar, a being of immense power and wisdom, yet even he feels the weight of what's to come. For Melker, the fallen one, has slipped free from his chains. The same darkness that once twisted the heart of the world now stirs again, and Oromë knows this hunt is not just a pursuit. It's a race against time, a desperate bid to stop the unraveling of all that is good. Close your eyes for a moment and listen. Can you hear it? The rustle of leaves carrying a warning, the distant echo of hoofbeats across the plains. Oromë grips his spear, its blade forged in the fires of divine purpose, and vows to track the darkness to its source. But this isn't just a story of gods and monsters. It's a tale of choices of light refusing to yield, of courage facing the unknown. And as we follow Oromë into the wilds of Middle-earth, we'll walk the line between hope and despair, through lands where every shadow could hide a threat or a chance for redemption. So settle in, dear listener, the hunt begins tonight. The wind howls across the golden plains, carrying with it the scent of decay, a bitter contrast to Valinor's eternal beauty. Oromë leans low over Nahar's neck as the great steed surges forward, his hooves striking the earth like thunder. With each stride, the land tells its story, blades of grass blackened at the tips, petals curled inward as if fleeing the sun. These are not the marks of time or chance. They are wounds, deliberate and cruel, left by a hand that once shaped the stars, but now twists all it touches. Ahead, the trees stand crooked, their branches clawing at the sky like broken fingers. Oromë slows, dismounting as his boots sink into soil that should pulse with life, but lies still and cold. Here, in this ruined glade, the music of the Ainur, the very song that birthed the world, has been smothered. No birds call, no leaves rustle, only silence, heavy and suffocating, presses against his skin. He kneels, brushing a hand over a flower whose golden hues have dulled to ash, and feels the echo of Melker's laughter in the emptiness. Then movement. A raven perched on a splintered branch, its feathers gleaming like polished obsidian. It tilts its head, and for a heartbeat, Oromë meets its gaze. There's something there, a cunning too sharp for beast or bird. Recognition flares in his chest. This is no ordinary creature. It watches, unblinking, as if drinking in his every thought. A spy, a herald, or something far worse, a piece of Melker's will given wings. Nahar stamps his hoof, uneasy, as Oromë tightens his grip on his spear. The hunt has changed. No longer is he tracking a fugitive. He's walking into a game where the rules shift like shadow, and every step could lead him deeper into the enemy's design. But the Valar do not retreat. With a whispered command, he swings back onto Nahar's back, his eyes fixed on the horizon where the sky bleeds into twilight. Somewhere beyond that line, Melker waits, and Oromë will find him before the darkness finds them all. The raven spreads its wings with a whisper of dark feathers, darting northward through the thickening air. Oromë urges Nahar forward, the great horse's breath steaming in the unnatural chill as they plunge into the forest's embrace. At first, the trees merely loom tall sentinels with bark like weathered bone. But as the path narrows, the branches twist inward, scraping against Oromë's arms with a hunger no living wood should possess. Leaves rustle without wind, and among them slithers a voice, honeyed and cruel. Do you remember, hunter, how brightly the stars burned when first we sang them into being? Melker's words coil around him, dripping with false nostalgia. How they dimmed when you chose chains over glory. Nahar snorts, tossing his head as the ground beneath them shudders, roots slithering like serpents to knot across their path. Oromë dismounts, his spear gleaming faintly in the murk. Every instinct screams to charge ahead, to split the shadows with steel and fury. But this forest is no longer just trees and earth. It breathes with malice, bending to its master's will. He hesitates, palm pressed to the gnarled trunk of an oak older than the sun. The spirits of these woods once danced to the same song as the Valar. Could any trace of that kinship remain? A faint pulse answers his touch, weak but defiant, like an ember beneath ash. The memory of starlight on unspoiled meadows flickers in his mind, a gift from the tree itself. Not all here has surrendered. The revelation steals him. Fear is a weapon Melker wields with precision, but Oromë is no prey to be herded. With a murmured plea to the unseen guardians of the forest, he lifts his spear, not in threat, but as a beacon. The shadows recoil, just for an instant, and in that sliver of light, a new path unfurls, a thread of silver moss glowing along the forest floor, leading deeper into the dark. The raven shrieks overhead, its cry sharp with frustration. Oromë smiles, tight and grim. Let the spy report this to its master. The hunt is far from over. Oromë closes his eyes, letting the weight of the ancient hymn rise from his chest. A melody older than the hills, older than the first dawn. The notes shimmer in the air, not as sound, but as something deeper. A vibration that hums through the roots and stones. Around him, the twisted trees groan, their branches shuddering like weary limbs awakening from sleep. For a moment, nothing. Then, a flicker. A single leaf, curled and blackened at the edges, trembles and unfurls, its veins glowing faintly with gold. One by one, the others follow. The forest breathes again, its heartbeat returning in pulses of light that dance along the bark. Whispers swirl through the leaves, not in words but in images. A figure cloaked in storm and shadow, his passing scorching the earth where he tread. Melker, the vision sharpens a path of withered grass leading east, toward the jagged teeth of the misty mountains. The spirits' voices are thin, strained, but their message is clear. They have not forgotten the hunter, nor the song that once bound all things together. Oromë presses his forehead to the oldest oak, his voice thick with gratitude. Rest now, he murmurs, this burden is mine to carry. As he steps back, the light in the leaves dims but does not fade. A promise lingers in the air, the forest will remember. Nahar stamps impatiently, sensing the urgency as Oromë swings onto his back. They surge forward, the trees parting before them with a rustle of approval. But just as the first peaks of the mountains pierce the horizon, a mocking caw splits the silence. The raven circles overhead, its laughter sharp as broken glass. Run, little god, it seems to croak. Run while you still can. Then it dissolves into the gathering mist, leaving only the echo of its taunt hanging in the air. Oromë's jaw tightens. The game is far from over, but now at least he knows the rules. The mountains wait, and with them, the next move in this dance of light and shadow. The foothills rise like the knuckles of a sleeping giant, their slopes jagged and unwelcoming beneath the bruised purple of twilight. Oromë guides Nahar along a crumbling ridge, the wind carrying whispers of something broken, not just stone, but spirit. Then, movement, figures huddled in the lee of a boulder, their silver hair dulled by dust, their eyes hollow with a fear no child of Iluvatar should ever know. Elves, but not the bright singers of Valinor. These are wanderers, their cloaks frayed, their voices cracked from nights spent choking on screams. One steps forward, her hands trembling as she clutches a dagger made of bone. The dreams, she rasps. They come when the stars hide faces in the smoke, laughter in the flames. They say we will burn. Her words unravel into silence, but Oromë hears what she cannot speak. The signature of Melker's cruelty is unmistakable, not just physical torment, but the slow poisoning of hope itself. Kneeling, Oromë presses his palm to the cold earth. The soil here is still clean, untouched by the shadow's grip. There is time. Listen, he murmurs and begins to sing. Not the thunderous hymns of the Valar, but a softer melody, one woven from dawn's first light and the resilience of roots pushing through stone. The elves stiffen at first. Trust is a luxury the hunted cannot afford. But as the notes curl around them, their shoulders loosen. One by one, they join, their voices trembling, then strengthening, until the very air hums with defiance. Darkness falls, the song lingers like a shield, but beyond its glow, the night writhes. A howl splits the silence. Long, guttural wrong, not wolf, not beast, but something shaped from hatred and hunger. The elves freeze, their newfound courage flickering. Oromë rises, his spear catching the faint starlight. Stand together, he commands. The dark fears your light more than you fear it. Another howl answers, closer now, then another. The hills themselves seem to pulse with malice, but amidst the terror, something shifts. The youngest elf, a boy with leaves tangled in his hair, lifts his chin and sings again, louder this time. The others follow. Their voices are not enough to banish the night, but they are enough to defy it, and for now, that is all that matters. The shadow wolves slink forward, their bodies more smoke than flesh, flickering in and out of the dim light like nightmares given form. Their growls vibrate through the ground, a sound that doesn't just reach the ears, it crawls under the skin, gnawing at courage. Oromë plants his feet, spear raised, its tip catching the faint glow of the elves' song. The melody wavers as the wolves circle, their eyes like smoldering coals, but the singers hold fast, their voices stitching the night back together note by trembling note. One beast, larger than the rest, pads to the front. Its hackles ripple like black flames, and where its paws touch the earth, the grass withers to ash. This is no mere servant of darkness. This is a thing remade, a predator honed by Melker's own hand, It bears teeth like shards of obsidian, and in its crimson gaze, Oromë sees the truth. These creatures were sent not just to hunt, but to break. To prove that even the Valar cannot shield the weak, the lead wolf lunges. Oromë pivots, his spear a silver arc in the dark, but he pulls the strike at the last instant. To kill it would be easy, to protect the elves behind him without slaughter. That is the test. The wolf snarls, confused by the hesitation, and the pack tenses, sensing vulnerability. Then, a child's voice, high and clear, rises above the others. The youngest elf steps forward, his small hands outstretched, offering not a weapon, but the song. Not defiance, hope. The wolves flinch as if scalded. For a heartbeat, the night holds its breath. Oromë seizes the moment. Run, he commands, herding the elves toward a narrow pass in the rocks. The wolves howl, their frustration shaking the stones. But already the song is working, its light fraying the edges of their forms. They give chase, yet something has shifted. The darkness no longer feels inevitable. It feels desperate, and Oromë knows this is not retreat, it is strategy. Some battles are won not by blade, but by the stubborn refusal to let the light die. The alpha wolf's snarl dies in its throat as Oromë's spear pierces through the smoke and shadow of its form. For a heartbeat, the creature hangs suspended, a nightmare-given shape, then shatters into fragments of darkness that scatter like embers on the wind. The pack's howls turn to whimpers as they dissolve into the night, their master's will undone, if only for this moment. The elves surge forward, their voices rising in triumph, their hands reaching to touch Oromë's cloak, as if he were a legend stepped from song into flesh. But the hunter feels no victory, only the weight of the raven's gaze from the cliffs above, cold and calculating. Then, a flutter of wings. The bird descends, circling once before dropping its offering, a single black feather, its edges shimmering with unnatural malice. It drifts to the ground between Oromë's boots, and in that stillness, the message is clear. This was never a true battle. It was a performance, a test. And somewhere beyond the peaks, Melkor watches, amused by the spectacle of light, struggling against his design. Oromë crushes the feather underfoot, grinding it into the dirt until only a smear of ash remains. He turns to the elves, their faces alight with gratitude he does not deserve. "You are safe now," he tells them, his voice rough with unspoken regret. But safety is fleeting. Carry this night with you, not as fear, but as proof. The dark may wound, but it cannot claim you unless you let it. The youngest elf, the boy who sang while shadows snarled, steps forward. In his palm rests a small stone, its surface etched with the crude shape of a star. A child's token, a warrior's defiance. Oromë accepts it with a nod, tucking it into his belt as he swings onto Nahar's back. The mountains loom ahead, their peaks jagged as broken teeth. The raven has already vanished into their heights, no doubt carrying word of his every move. Let it. Oromë digs his heels into Nahar's sides, and the great horse surges upward, his hooves striking sparks from the stone. The higher they climb, the thinner the air becomes, until even the stars seem to shrink back from what waits above. Somewhere in those frozen reaches, Melkor lingers, savoring the game, but games have rules even for gods, and Oromë intends to rewrite them. The wind's howl fades to a hollow moan as Oromë plunges into the cavern's belly, Nahar's flanks slick with ice and sweat. For a heartbeat, there's only darkness thick, suffocating, like the silence between heartbeats. Then the dust clears, revealing walls that should not exist. Runes older than the moon claw their way across the stone, their edges glowing faintly with a sickly green light. This is no natural cave. It's a cave crafted in secret ages ago. Its very stones hum with a melody, Oromë. It recognizes the same harmonies the Valar once used to shape the world, twisted now into something jagged and cruel. A whisper slithers through the air, too close to be mere echo. You see it, don't you? Melker's voice coils around him, oily with mock sympathy. How easily the tools of creation become instruments of bondage. Oromë grits his teeth, pressing a hand to Nahar's trembling neck. The cavern's air is thick with memory, not just of chains, but of betrayal. This prison was meant for one of his own. The runes pulse brighter as he steps forward, their light revealing ghastly etchings beneath. Figures with faces aflame, their hands outstretched not in supplication, but in warning. A mural of ruin, and at its center, a single word, repeated in a spiral that makes the eyes ache. Beware, not carved by mortal hands, not even by Melkers. This is older, deeper. Nahar snorts, his ears flattening as the ground trembles. The rune's glow intensifies, casting long shadows that twist unnaturally, as if trying to peel free from the walls. Oromë tightens his grip on his spear, but the weapon feels suddenly heavy, too solid in a place where even the air seems to writhe with half-formed intentions. This isn't just a trap, it's a reminder, a taunt, that every step forward in this hunt might be a step into a snare laid long before his feet ever touch the path. Then movement, a flicker at the edge of vision, too quick to name. The shadows aren't just twisting, they're watching, and in the deepest recesses of the cavern, something stirs. Not Melker, something that should have slept forever. The runes flare like emerald lightning, their sickly glow seeping into Oromë's bones. Each pulse drags at him, heavier than chains, colder than the void between stars. He's felt this before, this slow theft of light, this gnawing at the edges of the self. Melker's signature is unmistakable. The cavern isn't just a prison. It's a mockery of creation, a place where the very air hums with the screams of those who once dared to defy the darkness. Shadows peel from the walls, stretching into gaunt figures with hollow eyes and grasping fingers. They circle him, their whispers weaving through the damp air like poison threads. You're too late, they hiss. The world is already his. Their voices are familiar echoes of allies lost, of voices still too soon. Oromë's knees buckle under the weight of memory. Nahar whinnies, his nostrils flaring as he paws at the ground, but even the great steed's strength falters here. Then, a flicker deep in the marrow of his being, where even Melker's touch cannot reach. Something stirs, not just defiance, memory. The first hunt beneath newborn stars, the wind singing through the grass, the thrill of pursuit untainted by shadow. Oromë drags in a breath, his lungs burning, and does the one thing the darkness never expects. He sings. The note is rough at first, cracked by exhaustion. But as it leaves his lips, the cavern shudders, the runes dim. The song isn't a weapon, it's a reminder of dawn breaking over untouched fields, of antlers flashing through mist, of the sacred pact between hunter and hunted. The shadows recoil, their forms rippling like disturbed water. They know this melody. It's the sound of things that cannot be caged. Oromë rises, his voice gaining strength with every word. The spectral figures wail, their edges fraying as the song wraps around them, not to destroy, but to release. One by one, they dissolve, their whispers turning to sighs, then to silence. The last of them, a figure with eyes like dying stars, hesitates. For a heartbeat, Oromë sees not an enemy, but a prisoner. Then it too is gone, and the runes splutter like guttering candles. But the victory is fragile. Somewhere in the depths, stone grinds against stone. The true test is coming, and Oromë's song is now the only torch in the dark. The final rune cracks with a sound like shattering glass. Its sickly green light snuffed out as Oromë's song swells to fill the cavern. Shadows recoil, hissing like steam on hot stone, their forms unraveling into nothingness. For the first time in an age, true light spills through the broken prison. Not the cold glow of twisted magic, but the honest gold of dawn filtering down from the surface. Dust swirls in the sudden brightness, catching on Oromë's cloak as he staggers forward, Nahar's warm breath at his back a reminder that not all is lost. The air tastes different now, cleaner, but beneath the sweetness of freed earth lingers another scent, ozone and iron, the stench of recent malice. Footprints mar the snow outside the cavern's mouth, deep and deliberate, each stride longer than any mortal could manage. They vanish abruptly at the edge of a cliff, as if their maker had simply stepped into the sky. Oromë's fingers tighten around his spear. Melkor was here. Close enough to breathe the same air, to watch his handiwork unfold. The realization burns hotter than shame. This was never about escape. It was about spectacle. A caw splits the silence. The raven perches on a dead branch, its head cocked, eyes glinting with something too knowing to be mere animal cunning. It doesn't flee as Oromë turns. Doesn't flinch as he reaches for his bow. It watches, almost amused, as the arrow flies true, striking its breast with a hollow thud. But the creature doesn't bleed. Doesn't fall like flesh should. Instead, it dissolves midair, feathers melting into tendrils of smoke that twist into a face Oromë knows too well. Melker's laughter rings out, sharp as winter wind, before the last wisp scatters on the breeze. The message is clear. Every victory in this hunt is a move in a larger game, and the board is far from empty. Oromë exhales, his breath curling white in the cold. He could rage, could shatter the mountainside with his fury, but he does neither. Instead, he kneels, pressing his palm to the snow where the raven fell. The ice is unmarked, no blood, no shadow, only the faintest warmth, as if the sun had touched this one spot for the briefest moment. A taunt, yes, but also a trail. Melker may be the master of games, but Oromë, he remembers the rules before they were broken, and that changes everything. The mist curls around Oromë's boots like living tendrils as he descends into the valley, each step sinking into earth that feels too warm, too soft, like flesh. The ruins loom ahead, their jagged spires clawing at the sulfur-choked sky. This was once a place of terrible power, a fortress where Melkers will shape stone and shadow alike. Now it stands broken, but not empty. The air thrums with a tension that sets Nahar's ears twitching, the great horse's breath coming in short, sharp bursts. Oromë runs a hand along the cracked archway, fingers brushing symbols half scoured away by time, or something less kind. Inside, the walls are alive with memory. Faded murals stretch from floor to ceiling, their colors dulled but their horrors undimmed. Cities aflame, armies swallowed by fissures in the earth, stars ripped from the heavens. Melker's triumphs, etched in stone by hands that trembled even as they obeyed. But something is wrong. The scenes are marred by fresh gashes, deep and deliberate, as if the artist returned to slash at their own work. And there, amidst the defacement, words carved with surgical precision. "Come, hunter, let us end this chase." The ground shudders, dust cascades from the ceiling as Oromë grip tightens on his spear. This isn't a trap, it's an invitation, the kind a spider extends to a fly. He steps forward, boots crunching over shattered tile, and the murals seem to writhe in the corner of his vision, the painted figures turning their heads to watch him pass. Then the shaking intensifies, pillars groan, stone screams. From the depths of the fortress, a sound rises, not the roar of collapsing masonry, but laughter. Rich and resonant, vibrating through the bones of the world. It slithers up Orom's spine, whispers in the hollow of his ear, "You always did prefer the chase to the kill." The walls split apart, revealing not darkness, but a yawning chasm, a gateway. And beyond it, a figure wreathed in storm and ember, his smile a blade in the gloom. The hunt ends here, but not as Oromë expected. The fortress groans one final time before surrendering to gravity, its bones collapsing inward in a thunderous roar of stone and dust. Oromë rolls clear just as the archway he stood beneath buckles, the weight of centuries crashing down where his boots had been moments before. Nahar rears, his cry lost in the cacophony, as the very ground beneath them cracks like thin ice. Through the settling haze, a silhouette materializes atop the jagged ridge, taller than memory paints him, wrapped in a cloak that drinks the light, his presence bending the air like heat over a forge. Melker's eyes gleam, twin coals in a face carved from midnight, and when he lifts his hand, the world obeys. The earth shrieks as it tears apart, a fissure racing toward Oromë like a starving mouth. He vaults backward, his spear skittering into the abyss as the chasm yawns between them, its depths exhaling a stench of burnt metal and older, fouler things. Across the divide, Melker's smile is a blade drawn slow from its sheath. No words, no grand proclamations, just the tilt of his head, the mocking arch of a brow. "See how easily I remake the rules." Then, like smoke caught in a sudden gust, he's gone. Silence floods the ruins, broken only by the distant skitter of pebbles tumbling into darkness. Oromë crouches at the chasm's edge, fingers digging into crumbling rock. This was never just a hunt. It was a dance, each step choreographed to lure him deeper into Melker's design. The Dark Lord could have struck him down moments ago, could have buried him beneath the fortress bones, but that's not his way. He doesn't crave victory. He savors the unraveling, the moment hope curdles into despair. A gust howls up from the abyss, carrying whispers of something stirring far below. Not just rockfall, not just echoes, something shifting. Oromë staggers back as the chasm's edges tremble, fissures spiderwebbing outward. The land itself is rejecting the wound Melker carved, but wounds fester, and this one pulses with a heat that has nothing to do with magma. Nahar nudges his shoulder, nostrils flaring at the scent. Eastward, always eastward, The mountains there are younger, their peaks less scarred by ancient wars. A path remains, not to follow, but to cut off, to outmaneuver. Oromë exhales, shaking dust from his hair. Let Melker play his games. The hunt knows other ways. Nahar's muscles coil like springs as the great horse launches over a fissure, his hooves striking the far side with a shower of sparks. The earth beneath them is alive with malice cracks, spreading like black veins, stones tumbling from cliff sides as if hurled by unseen hands. Oromë leans low, his braid whipping like a banner in the gale, as the sky above them curdles into a bruise-colored tempest. Lightning forks downward, not in blinding white, but in sickly violet and venom green. Each strike, leaving the air reeking of ozone and something older, fouler. Ahead, the tower pierces the gloom, its spire glowing with a light that doesn't illuminate, but consumes, a beacon for the lost and the damned. A shadow darts across the broken plain. Then another, wraiths, their forms woven from smoke and shattered echoes, rise from the fissures. They don't attack, they flow, reshaping the land as they pass. Solid ground liquefying into quicksand, boulders teetering on phantom gusts. Oromë veers hard left as a slab of rock shears away where Nahar's hooves had been moments before. This isn't just resistance, it's theater. Melker's laughter lingers in every obstacle, his fingerprints on every near miss. Nahar skids to a halt at the edge of a sinkhole, his flanks heaving. The direct path is suicide. Oromë scans the hellscape, the wraiths weaving their traps, the storm thickening like a shroud, and his gaze snags on a thread of silver. A river, or what's left of one, its waters choked with ash, but still cutting through the wastes. Rivers remember, even damned ones. With a sharp whistle, Oromë spurs Nahar toward the crumbling bank. The wraiths shriek in pursuit, but water, no matter how tainted, holds traces of its old song. As Nahar's hooves churn the shallows, the current stirs, whispering of a time before the shadow. The wraiths recoil, their forms hissing where stray droplets strike. It's not a path to safety, but it's a path. The tower looms closer now, its light pulsing like a diseased heart. Oromë doesn't look up. He doesn't need to. Somewhere in that spire, Melker watches, savoring the spectacle. Let him. The hunter knows better than to stare into the serpent's eyes while crossing its nest. The real hunt begins when the prey thinks it's won. The cave mouth exhales damp air as Oromë guides Nahar into the tunnel's embrace, the stalactites above dripping a slow, rhythmic lament. The walls here are not silent. They murmur, not with the crackle of Melker's malice, but with the hollow echoes of things long forsaken. Whispers coil around Oromë's ankles like mist, fragments of voices pleading in tongues older than the sun. Most dissolve into the dark as he passes, but one lingers, thickening the air with the scent of burnt incense and regret. A shape flickers against the wet stone, not quite solid, not quite shadow. Robes that might once have been radiant hang in tatters, and where eyes should gleam, there are only smudges of dull ember light. The voice that spills forth is frayed at the edges, as if each word costs it dearly. Turn back, hunter. The spirit drifts closer, its form rippling like a reflection in troubled water. The tower is a hollow crown. He waits for you in the valley of shattered stars. Oromë stills. This is no wraith of Melker's making. The cadence of its speech, the way it clutches at the remnants of its robes. This was a Maya once. A being of light and song, now reduced to a whisper in the dark. "Why warn me?" he asks, his voice softer than the cave's own breath. The spirit shudders, its edges fraying further. "Because I remember the music, before the dissonance, before the chains, a pause heavy with the weight of centuries. He will break you as he broke us. Not with force, but with choice. The truth of it settles in Orom's bones, the tower's pulsing light, the theatrics of the chase, all of it stagecraft. Melkor doesn't just want victory, he wants complicity, to make the hunter choose the path of ruin himself. Gently, Oromë extends a hand, palm upturned. "You've carried this long enough." His fingers glow faintly, not with the harsh light of dominion, but with the gentle gold of a dawn remembered. The spirit hesitates, then reaches, a wisp of smoke brushing his skin. For a heartbeat, the cave fills with the ghost of a forgotten melody, a strain of the original song, pure and unbroken. Then, with a sigh like wind through autumn leaves, the Maya unravels into light. The tunnel falls still, even the dripping water hushes. Nahar nickers softly, nosing Orom's shoulder, as if to ask which way now. The answer is etched in the silence. The tower is a snare. The real path lies where shadows don't bother to hide in the open, where the sky still dares to shine. Oromë turns, his boots scuffing the stone as he retraces his steps. Behind him, the cave's whispers rise once more, but they are lighter now, and for the first time in an age, one of them is singing. The river coils black and sluggish at Melkor's feet, its surface scummed with ash, reflecting nothing, not the bruised sky, not the twisted trees along its banks, not even the Dark Lord's own terrible visage. He stands motionless, his cloak billowing in a wind that doesn't touch the surrounding air, his form shifting like a mirage. One moment, a figure of terrible beauty, crowned with phantom starlight. The next, a thing of jagged edges and smoldering voids, a wound in the fabric of the world. Orom's grip tightens on his spear as Nahar stamps the cracked earth, nostrils flaring at the stench of corruption rising from the water. Melkor turns slowly, as if savoring the moment. His smile is a knife sliding from its sheath. "You are persistent, hunter," he murmurs, the words slithering over the river's surface, making the stagnant water ripple in unnatural patterns. "Tell me, do you still hear the music when you hunt, or has it all become noise to you?" Oromë doesn't answer. He's learned the cost of words in Melkor's presence. Instead, he digs his heels into Nahar's sides, and the great horse surges forward, muscles coiled like springs, his hooves kicking up clods of lifeless soil. The distance between them vanishes in a blur of speed until the river moves, not a wave, a wall. The black water heaves upward, towering like a cliff face, its surface alive with grasping tendrils that writhe and snap like whips. Nahar rears, his scream lost in the sudden roar, as Oromë wrenches him sideways barely in time to avoid the lashing water. The barrier holds, shimmering with a sickly iridescence, its depths swirling with half-formed faces, souls trapped in the current, their mouths stretched in silent wails. Melkor's laughter is a discordant chime. "Come now, surely you've faced worse than a little water." Oromë dismounts, his boots sinking into the mud as he studies the churning wall. This is no mere illusion. The river's corruption is real, its touch acidic enough to sear flesh from bone. Yet something nags at the edges of his awareness, a flicker of familiarity in the water's movement, a rhythm beneath the chaos. The river remembers, Before the shadow, before the chains, it sang as all waters did, clear and unbroken. He crouches, pressing his palm to the damp earth. The ground here is dead, but beneath it, deeper than Melker's poison has reached, the roots of the world still stir. Closing his eyes, Oromë hums, a fragment of the old song, the one the rivers knew when the stars were young. The wall shudders. Just for a heartbeat, the black water turns translucent, revealing the ghost of its former self, a silver thread winding through green hills. Then the vision snaps, and the barrier crashes down in a deluge of filth, drenching Oromë to the skin, but the hesitation was enough. Melker's smirk falters. Oromë rises, water sluicing from his arms, his spear gleaming despite the grime. He doesn't need to speak the truth aloud. They both heard it. The song isn't gone. Only buried, and what can be buried can be unearthed. The Dark Lord's eyes narrow, his form flickering again, this time with something like irritation. The game has changed, and for the first time since the hunt began, Oromë sees it, the faintest crack in the predator's patience. Nahar snorts, shaking his mane as if to say enough waiting. Oromë agrees. He vaults onto the horse's back, and this time, when they charge, the river doesn't rise to stop them. It parts. With a mighty leap, Oromë clears the churning water, his spear flashing like a bolt of daylight in the gloom. He lands before Melker with a force that cracks the earth beneath his boots, sending up a spray of blackened soil. The Dark Lord's smile wavers, just for an instant, before their weapons meet in a clash that splits the air. Sparks erupt like dying stars, each collision sending tremors through the ground. Fissures spider, webbing outward, as if the land itself recoils from their fury. Melker fights as shadows fight, fluid, deceptive, his form blurring at the edges as he twists the very air between them into knots. One moment he's before Oromë, the next he's a whisper at his back, his blade slicing not through flesh but through memory, through will. The hunter stumbles as the past rises, unbidden visions of hunts gone wrong, of choices that still haunt him. But Oromë has carried these weights too long to buckle now. He plants his feet, roaring a note so pure it shatters the illusions like glass. Their next exchange is sheer force meeting force. Oromë's spear grazes Melker's shoulder, and the wound doesn't bleed shadow. It bleeds light gold and searing, as if the Dark Lord's form is nothing but a shell over something far older. Melker hisses, his perfect composure fracturing as he staggers back. The ground beneath him darkens, absorbing the luminous drops like ink drunk from a well. This is not over, Melker snarls, his voice no longer smooth, but frayed at the edges, a chorus of discordant tones beneath the words. His body unravels, not fleeing, but dissolving with deliberate slowness, his gaze locked on Oromë until the last. You've won nothing but time, and time, hunter, has always been my ally. Then he's gone. The silence that follows is thicker than the battle's din, heavy with the scent of ozone and something bittersweet like the air after a storm has passed. Oromë exhales, his arms trembling not from exhaustion, but from the weight of what that fleeting wound revealed. Melker is wounded, yes, but wounds make beasts desperate. And the Dark Lord is the oldest beast of all. Nahar trots forward, nosing Oromë's shoulder, as if to say enough, staring at empty air. The hunter grips his mount's mane, swinging onto his back with a grunt. The river lies quiet now, its waters no longer black, but a murky gray, as if the clash has stirred up long-buried sediment, or perhaps something deeper. Oromë touches the hilt of his spear, still warm from the fight. Melker retreated, but the hunt is just beginning. The silence that follows is not peaceful, it's the quiet of a world holding its breath. Oromë's chest rises and falls with the rhythm of spent battle, his fingers still curled tight around the shaft of his spear, its tip smeared with something darker than blood. The air tastes different now, cleaner, though the memory of Melker's presence lingers like the acrid tang of lightning after a storm. Above, the bruised clouds unravel, their edges gilded by the first hesitant light of dawn. It's a fragile beauty, one that feels almost defiant in the wake of such darkness. Nahar stands a few paces away, his coat streaked with sweat and ash, but his eyes bright with unbroken resolve. The great horse dips his head, nostrils flaring as he nudges Oromë's shoulder. Not an urging, but a reminder. You're not alone. The hunter exhales a laugh, rough with exhaustion, and runs a hand along Nahar's neck, feeling the steady pulse beneath his fingers. Some bonds even the Dark Lord cannot sever. The horizon stretches before them, painted in hues of rose and gold, the land beneath it still scarred, but no longer bleeding. Oromë knows better than to mistake this respite for victory. Melker's retreat is tactics, not surrender. The Dark Lord has always played the long game, weaving defeat into the fabric of his schemes until it unravels into something worse. Yet as Oromë swings onto Nahar's back, the weight of his spear familiar in his grip, something stirs in the earth beneath them, a tremor, faint but unmistakable. Not of fear, of awakening. The rivers will remember their songs. The trees will reclaim their roots, and the shadows, they've just learned that even the oldest darkness can still be pierced. Nahar's hooves strike the soil with renewed purpose as they turn eastward, where the dawn burns brightest. The hunt continues, but for the first time in an age, the light is keeping pace. The air grows still too still as Oromë lowers his spear. The battlefield lies silent, but in his mind's eye, the world unravels. A vision sears itself behind his eyelids, Melker's shadow unfurling like a great black wing over Middle-earth, its edges seeping into rock and root, twisting rivers into venom, turning song into screams. Cities crumble not to fire or steel, but to whispers lies that slither into hearts and fester. The Dark Lord's laughter echoes not from the sky, but from within, as if the land itself has learned to mock its own ruin. Nahar shifts beneath him, sensing the tremor in his rider's hands. Oromë exhales, and the breath tastes of iron and inevitability. This was never just a hunt. It was the first ripple of a flood. The wounds he dealt today are but scratches on a beast that spans epochs. Melker doesn't just want to rule, he wants to unmake, to peel back the layers of creation until nothing remains but the void's hungry maw. Yet as the vision fades, something else flickers at the edges, a spark where the shadow thins, a glimmer of silver in a brook, a sapling pushing through cracked stone. Fragile, yes, but unbroken. Oromë's fingers tighten around his spear, the wood warm as living flesh against his palm. He thinks of the elves singing in the face of terror, of the Maya's dying light in the cavern, of the river remembering its true name. This is the truth Melker fears. That light, once kindled, cannot be smothered, only scattered. With a roar that shakes the morning dew from the grass, Oromë thrusts his spear skyward. The shaft catches the sun, blazing like a lodestar. Hear me, his voice rolls over the hills, through the valleys, into the very bones of the earth. Let every free heart take up the call. Let every blade, every voice, every whispered hope rise as one. The wind snatches his words, carrying them east to the halls of the Valar, west to the shores where the sea still sings, north to the frozen wastes, where even now, courage stirs beneath the ice. The shadow will come, of this there is no doubt, but shadows, after all, cannot exist without light, and Oromë, he has seen the light's face. It looks like defiance. It looks like dawn. The wind carries the scent of salt and distant blossoms, as Oromë guides Nahar westward. The great horse's strides, eating up the miles between the broken lands and the undying shores of Valinor. Behind them, the echoes of battle fade, replaced by the quiet murmur of leaves rustling in the newfound calm. Yet the weight in Orom's chest doesn't lift. Every hoof beat against the earth feels like a question. Was it enough? The wound he dealt Melker will sting. Yes, but wounds have a way of festering in the dark. Ahead, the first silvery glow of the trees spills over the horizon, painting the path in liquid radiance. It's a sight that once filled him with pride, a reminder of the order he helped shape. Now it feels like a challenge. Valinor's light is unchanging, but Middle-earth is alive. A tapestry of fragile, fighting things. The elves who sang defiance into the teeth of the night. The rivers that remembered their true names. The Maya who clung to one last note of the old song before vanishing into light. They don't need a protector on a golden steed. They need an ally. Nahar's ears flick as a chorus rises behind them, faint but unbroken. The elves have woven Orom's name into their hymns, but the verses aren't about victory. They're about the moment before the spear struck, when the hunter stood knee-deep in shadow and chose to sing instead of scream. That, perhaps, is the lesson Melker will never grasp. True strength isn't in domination. It's in the quiet, stubborn act of kindling hope where none should exist. The stars blink awake overhead, their light older than the Dark Lord's malice, older than the trees themselves. Oromë tilts his face to them, breathing in the cool night air. This isn't an ending, it's a vow. Let Melker lick his wounds in the depths of the world. Let his whispers coil through the hearts of the uncertain. The hunt has only just begun, and Oromë, he's learned the scent of his prey. Nahar's hooves strike the bridge of rainbow mist that spans the sea, their rhythm steady as a heartbeat. Behind them, dawn touches the eastern peaks, gilding the snow in fire. Somewhere beneath those mountains, shadows stir, but for now, the light holds. And so does the hunter. you.